Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, you will learn how to use Russian piping tips. I'll give you some tips and tricks so that your decorations come out well defined and you'll learn how to use them like a professional. Russian piping tips come in different styles and sizes. Standard Russian piping tips are large, and others are medium-sized. Select a few Russian piping tips. I'm going to choose 6 of the ones we use the least, at least in my case, to see how they turn out. I really like the 6 tips I chose, and they are all different designs. Buttercream is soft and creamy when freshly made, however, its consistency can change after a day. It becomes thick and looks lumpy after a day or several days. This is normal, and you can fix it by mixing it again in a bowl by hand or with a mixer. You can find this Swiss buttercream on my channel, and I will also leave the link to make it easier for you. Remember to flatten the buttercream to eliminate air bubbles. Here I'll leave you a very useful trick. Put the same amount of cream in 2 bowls and mix until it becomes soft and creamy. Now add the same amount of gel food coloring to both bowls and mix until the cream is uniform in both. This trick works very well. You use less food coloring and also achieve brighter and more vibrant colors. One of the most important things to keep in mind when working with Russian piping tips is the quality of the material. Not all tips are created equal. Some cheaper versions made from plastic or thin metal might seem like a good deal at first, but they often bend easily or lose their shape after just a few uses. And once the shape is compromised, it's hard to get a clean flower design. That's why I always recommend investing in a good quality set made from stainless steel. They're much more durable, they hold their shape beautifully, and you'll immediately notice the difference in the definition of your designs. A reliable set of piping tips is something that can last you for years if you take care of it properly. Now, in one of the bowls, add a teaspoon, 5 milliliters, of cream cheese, mix it, and see the difference in how the color changes and becomes more intense and vibrant. My advice is to add the cream cheese at the end, that is, first mix the cream with the coloring, and then add the cream cheese. Continue separating the cream into bowls for each color. If you like my tutorial, please subscribe, give it a like, and share. Thank you so much for your support. A lot of people think Russian tips only work with a specific kind of frosting, but the truth is, you have options. While Swiss meringue buttercream is my go-to because it's smooth and holds its shape so well, you can also use American buttercream, a whipped ganache, or even a very stiff meringue. The key, no matter what type you choose, is the consistency. The frosting needs to be firm enough to stand up on its own, but still soft enough to pipe without breaking or cracking. If it's too soft, your flowers will collapse or lose their detail. And if it's too stiff, it might be hard to push through the tip, or it could break mid-design. So, always test a little bit before starting your main decoration. Once you get the hang of finding that perfect texture, you'll see how easy and satisfying it is to work with these tips. Start filling the piping bags with various colors of the Swiss buttercream we prepared earlier. Do it this way to make it easier. Use a spatula or spoon, cover the sides of the piping bag with white cream and place yellow cream in the center, simulating a daisy. Push the cream with a scraper or ruler and seal with a food clip or something similar. Here I'm going to use a large 3-part coupler to be able to add 3 different cream colors. Couplers are used to switch piping tips while still using the same piping bag. Open the bag, hold it with your non-dominant hand, and fold it over your open hand. Set the bag to one side and use a spatula to add the cream. To achieve tulips, we will do it this way: use a tall glass and place the bag inside with the piping tip facing down. Use a spatula to add a strip of yellow buttercream. Make sure the strip is aligned with one petal of the piping tip. Add 2 more strips and ensure they are aligned with the petals of the piping tip. Between the yellow cream strips, add strips of orange cream, and in the middle, add white buttercream. Follow the same steps to form roses, except you add several layers of cream in various colors of your choice. Now comes the most fun part: decorating. With Russian piping tips, it's very easy to get great results as long as you follow some important and essential steps. Point 1. Cream must be soft, firm, and creamy. Point 2. To get the flour to stick to the cupcake or cake, press consistently, then stop as you pull the piping tip away. I placed a Wilton No. 68 leaf tip to add leaves between the flowers. Here I show you another way to get shorter or taller flowers. Press steadily while raising the piping bag with the tip until you reach the height you need. It's very easy. With a bit of practice, you'll get it instantly. Here I show you what can happen if you place the piping tip sideways or a bit tilted. The cream won't fully stick to the cupcake or cake, and the flower or design will break apart. Switch from the Wilton No. 68 leaf tip to the Wilton No. 352 leaf tip. It's very easy to change tips when you have a coupler or piping tip adapter. Wow! I love them, all the designs are beautiful, but this one is my favorite. It's a rose with very fine petals. If you place the flowers too close together, the leaves might stick to the piping tip. Clean the tip well and continue forming roses. Here we have more examples of what can happen while forming your roses with the Russian piping tip. First, if you don't press enough and the flower doesn't fully stick to the cake or cupcake. Second, if what you get looks like a shapeless cho, it's because you lifted the piping tip without stopping the pressure. Or most commonly, it could be the texture of the cream, it might be too melted, and you can fix that by putting the piping tip with the cream in the fridge for 1 or 2 minutes. Let's talk about something that's often overlooked: cleaning and maintaining your Russian piping tips. After each use, especially if you've worked with colored buttercream, it's really important to wash your tips thoroughly with warm, soapy water. Tiny bits of buttercream can get stuck inside the narrow openings, and if you leave them there, they'll dry out and harden, making your next use a lot more difficult. I like to use a small cleaning brush to get into all the little corners. Once they're clean, make sure to dry them completely. Even stainless steel can rust if it's left damp for too long. Lay them out on a towel or use a soft cloth to dry them one by one, and then store them in a container or case where they're not bumping into each other. If you take care of them, your piping tips will stay in perfect shape and be ready to go every time you want to create something beautiful. Did you know that Russian piping tips actually originated in Eastern Europe, particularly in countries like Russia and Ukraine? They were developed not so long ago, with the goal of simplifying floral cake decorations while still maintaining an elegant and professional finish. In a region where elaborately decorated cakes are deeply rooted in tradition, these piping tips became an instant game changer. What makes Russian piping tips so unique is their design. Unlike traditional piping tips that require you to carefully build petals one by one, often with a lot of patience and skill, these tips are engineered to create an entire flower in just one single motion. It's incredibly satisfying. One press, and a perfect blossom appears on your cake or cupcake. It feels almost like magic, and honestly, that's part of the reason they've become so popular. Each tip has a carefully shaped cutout that mimics the structure of real flowers. From tulips to roses, daisies to peonies, every tip brings a different flower to life. Some even recreate wildflowers or fantasy petals. Because of this variety, many cake artists love collecting Russian tips, not just for baking, but as little pieces of creative inspiration. Of course, not every type of frosting works with them. The secret is in the consistency. You need a buttercream that's firm yet smooth, something like Swiss meringue or Italian buttercream. If the frosting is too light or fluffy, like whipped cream or chantilly, the designs won't hold their shape, and the petals might collapse before they even touch the cake. Russian piping tips went from a regional favorite to a global trend thanks to the rise of social media. A short video showing a buttercream flower blooming instantly? That was enough to go viral. Soon, bakers from all over the world were amazed by how easy it looked and how beautiful the results were. Now, you can find these tips in baking stores across Europe, America, Asia, almost anywhere. What's fascinating is that for many years, these tips were a bit of a well-kept secret. In their early days, they weren't widely available outside Eastern Europe, and many cake decorators in the region passed down their techniques through family or community. Using Russian piping tips felt like being part of a tradition, and today, that tradition continues to grow and evolve around the world. Here I show you various shapes and designs using leaf piping tips. Thank you so much for watching my tutorial. I hope my tips help you. I would love for you to leave me a comment, to subscribe if you haven't yet, and to share this tutorial. It would really help my channel grow. Thank you so much for your support. See you next time.